It's true. I tested positive. Hey, what is up, YouTube? My name is Mr. Kyle Cohen. I'm a 4th grade teacher in Cleveland, Ohio, and I started this YouTube channel back in the summer of 2020 for a few reasons. First, I've been watching people on YouTube, teachers particularly on YouTube, for years. I've watched Pocketful of Primary and Early Adventures and Real Rap with Reynolds, like all of these people here on YouTube for so long, and ever since I started my career in education, I too wanted a YouTube channel. But I never started my YouTube channel because I was too nervous and didn't feel like I had the right things to say and didn't want people to judge me and all of those things. But I decided to rip off the Band-Aid in the summer of 2020 because I was about to embark on my 3rd year of teaching during a school year that would be taking place in the middle of a pandemic. And I knew for a fact that at that time, the 2020-2021 school year would be unlike anything any educator has ever experienced, any teacher has ever experienced, and I wanted to document what my year would be like so I can look back on it in 20 years from now and have these YouTube videos as documentation of what it was like to teach during the pandemic school year, because that school year was going to be unlike anything. And it was unlike anything. Fortunately, I made it through that entire year healthy. My students made it through that entire year healthy. We had immense challenges when it came to never-ending shifts in protocols. We were quarantining left and right. Students, my school was in person every day, except for about 3 weeks in between Thanksgiving and winter break. We really successfully managed to handle the pandemic with masking, with social distancing, with all of those physical measures in place, and it proved really effective for the most part. We had cases here and there pop up, but overall students were learning, students were getting a lot of their experience in being in the classroom, and things were really positive. We left last school year in a really positive mentality that it was behind us, that we would be embarking on the 2021-2022 school year as educators with things returning to how they were pre-pandemic, right? Like flexible seating, bring it on, no masks, kids working together, sharing materials, having fun, sitting on the carpet, all of those things that we know are effective methods and systems and procedures for students to thrive, like all of those things that we live for as educators, those powerful, positive learning moments that we missed from before the pandemic, we were really excited to implement. I had the opportunity to serve at my district summer school program, and this summer we actually had masks being optional because at that time, those were the CDC guidelines. Masks were optional indoors, and things were fully smooth during the summer. We didn't have a single student in quarantine, not a single staff member in quarantine. We had like no absences whatsoever, and everything was really looking on the up and up. And then with the Delta variant, the reality of the situation really took over. My school board came to the responsible decision that ultimately if a student does test positive for the virus, if everyone in that classroom, including the teacher and all other students, are wearing a mask, then the amount of students who would need to quarantine looks drastically different than if nobody was wearing a mask. At the end of the day, we want kids at school. We all realized that as a country. Celebrities took to the internet talking about it. Everyday people took to the internet talking about it. In March of 2020, we realized how much we valued teachers, and we had a true reckoning as a nation that we need our kids in classrooms with educators who know what they're doing and are able to teach children. That is the goal. So in order for that goal to be a reality, that means that students and staff will wear a mask because plenty of people are choosing to not vaccinate for whatever their reasons are. And if those are the choices they're willing to make, then we have to wear masks. Because if someone tests positive, we do not want to quarantine masses of children. We do not want to shut down nearly every classroom, so then we're back learning online, which is exactly what people don't want. And with that being said, the plan isn't always perfect, and I just got my positive test results. I, in fact, did test positive, and I feel like, for the most part, I mean, I'm not perfect. I haven't made perfect decisions for the past 20 months in regards to the safest possible thing I could do every minute of every day, but I feel like I've been really responsible, and I want to be honest with those of you who are watching, so I will share what happened. I take my temperature every morning. My district actually does not require temperature checks at the door, but it feels responsible to take my temperature every morning. And on Monday, we were off for Labor Day. I was feeling a little bit off. Like, I felt like I had a cold, honestly. Slight sore throat, a little bit stuffy. So I took some Dayquil on Monday and felt a lot better. So I was all planning on going to school on Tuesday because I thought I just had a cold. I woke up on Tuesday morning, really wasn't feeling great. Took my temperature just as a precaution, and I actually did have a temperature. I had like a low-grade fever, 100.5 degrees Fahrenheit or whatever at the time. And at that point, I knew it would be irresponsible to go to work. Notified my principal. That afternoon, I went and got a test, which then today, Thursday morning, came back positive. And it has been really hard being out of work. Leaves my students with a substitute, which is like one of my least favorite things. I have so much respect for people who choose to be substitute teachers, but I know how challenging it is for students, and I want to be there because for kids in the 4th grade, in the time we're living in, consistency is really important and routine is really important. So to have a substitute teacher for an entire week, it's really difficult. Regulations, the current protocol is that after 10 days of symptoms first appearing, you no longer need to quarantine. So 10 days after my symptoms, I'm able to go back to work, which is really awesome. But it is the unfortunate reality that I do have to miss a substantial amount of work and that students are left with a substitute during this time. Fortunately, my symptoms have been improving. I had a fever, as I mentioned, on Tuesday. Yesterday was Wednesday, woke up without a fever, was feeling a lot better. I feel kind of like congested here. I feel like I sound congested. But beyond that, I feel pretty lucky. Thankfully, the vaccine hopefully means that I saw the worst of what the symptoms are going to be and that it's only going to be up and up from here. Right now, I'm thinking a lot about people who are actively working against all of the amazing things that are taking place in our schools today. People who are actively trying to stand in front of educators who are risking their own life to be in the classroom, to support students, who have a calling for creating transformative learning moments for students in the classroom. And there are people who are actively choosing to stand against that. There are people who have not been in a school since they were in school, who suddenly feel like they have a voice for what an education should look like for a child in this country. And it is us educators who are in the trenches each and every day with these kids in the middle of a pandemic, a never-ending pandemic, who I don't feel like are asked or who are consulted or who are being heard. Because I know in my classroom, when I have the ability to be there with my students, when I'm not home with this virus, when I actually have the physical ability to be in the classroom with students, it's pretty amazing. They're pretty amazing. What we're able to accomplish together is really remarkable. And I hope that we put the same level of trust and energy that we had towards educators back in March of 2020 when all kids were forced to learn online. I hope we're able to channel some of that energy now more than ever, because the current state of the pandemic in this country is frightening. And it doesn't look like it's getting better anytime soon. And it's on us as a nation to unite together so that I can get back to work with my students and so other educators don't have to be forced to stay at home when they contract this virus from people who are actively working against the work that we are trying to accomplish in this classroom, in these classrooms, which are creating spaces where all kids in this nation can thrive. Again, this wasn't a cry for clickbait or views or attention or sympathy. It wasn't anything like that. This is just a teacher documenting his experiences through this pandemic in the front lines, working with students. And if you are with me, if you are someone who is standing alongside of me in this work, if you are in that classroom or attempting to be in that classroom, you are not alone. Your work matters. I appreciate you. And keep fighting.